is Candace, and I'm with Tri-County Mental Health Show Me Hope program that's powered by FEMA. And I'm here today just to talk to you a little bit about what you might be feeling after these long 9 months of being in the pandemic. So there was this wonderful article that was written by Tara Hale, and we'll post it down below. But she talks about your surge capacity and its depletion and why you might feel awful. And so I really just wanted to chat with you today about that. So I won't be reading the article to you, but I just want to break it down for you, and maybe just kind of as an additive to that article. So in this article, she has interviewed several psychiatrists and other well-known people. So Maston states that surge capacity is a collection of adapted systems, so mental and physical, that humans draw on for short-term survival in very acute stressful situations such as natural disasters. So we know the Show Me Hope program is for natural disasters, and as crisis counselors, this is where we come in and we say, like, we have this great surge capacity, we get to take care of people. Natural disasters occur over a very short period of time. So even if the recovery is long, pandemics are obviously different because the disaster itself is stretching out right now that we know indefinitely. So that means that when our surge capacity is depleted, it has to be renewed. But what happens when you struggle to renew it because the emergency phase has now become chronic? So that's what we're going to talk a little bit today is like, what are we able to do about this? So when we have unprecedented disasters like the COVID-19 pandemic, for most of us, it has a profound impact on our daily lives. But it's different, like I said, of the natural disasters that we usually are here for, like the hurricane or the tornado, where you can look outside, see the damage, the destruction for most people. In this instance, is invisible and ongoing. And also, there's many systems right now that aren't working as they might normally would, which means that there's been a radical shift, like at work, school, home life, and almost none of us have experience with that. So this is something totally different. So even those who have worked in disaster recovery, such as other Show Me Hope programs, or been there for natural disasters, or even crisis clinicians in mental health programs who are there for people in short-term disasters. This pandemic right now is very unprecedented because we don't know how long it will go on. So because of that, we are probably feeling some sort of what we call ambiguous loss. So ambiguous loss is any loss that's unclear with a lack of resolution. So it can be physical, such as like a missing person. Sometimes we think of this when people maybe lose a limb, or it can be psychological, like a family member who maybe has dementia. So this is, again, any loss that has an unclear and lacks a resolution. And that's exactly what the pandemic is happening. So it's much harder for those, including myself, who's a high achiever, that I am very accustomed to solving the problem and getting things done, having a routine. I like to see how things play out and it be pretty black and white, but that's not the way that we get to do that. So now we start having those feelings of hopelessness and helplessness, and those start to create continued feelings throughout there. So ambiguous loss elicits the exact same experiences of grief as more tangible loss. So we could have denial. We could have denial of the pandemic and what's going on, or we could have denial within ourselves of maybe this won't happen to me. We can have anger. So anger at leadership, anger at the people around us, anger at our families. We can have a bargaining tool. If we do this, maybe we can feel better. And then we have that depression stage. And then, of course, we have that acceptance stage. And when we have that acceptance stage, that's where we really want to get to, and then talk about how we can have that resilience bank and have a bounce back ability. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But with that ambiguous loss, again, this isn't a tangible loss, but it's something that we're continuing to feel daily. And these feelings are not going to be linear. So it's not like you're going to go from denial, anger, bargaining. You're going to feel all of these maybe within a day or several days or several weeks. So one thing we really want to think about with that ambiguous loss is how are we going to cope during this then? What are we able going to do? And that very first thing in that grief cycle that we can, after we go through all those feelings, that we can hopefully start shedding that light of hope is with acceptance. And acceptance is really hard, but sometimes we just have to have radical acceptance to say, um, this may be happening and I'm still going to get through it. So we'll talk a little bit about both and thinking as well. Um, yeah, but that acceptance piece is important. We also have to accept less of ourselves. So I know that there's a lot of people who maybe are working from home, who maybe aren't working from home and who are having to travel to work, and that's stressful. But I think this is a very stressful time where we are going to have to expect just a little bit less of ourselves. Most of the time, we are always saying, expect a lot, go out there and do what you can. And right now, it's like, do what you can to get by, to feel good for the next day. So what they've been calling that new normal, right now, to me, that new normal is feeling off balance. That new normal is, as they put it in the article, like trying to stand in a dinghy on rough seas and not knowing when the storm will pass. And that's 100% true. It's kind of like every moment I'm like, okay, I can get through this now. Okay, I'm going to be a little bit sad through this. Okay, I can get through this now. So it's just kind of that back and forth. So things that we can do is also look for activities that might be new and old that continue to fulfill us. So walking for me, meditation for me, listening to audiobooks. I got away from listening to books, reading books there for a couple months, and I realized that I really like to fulfill myself with learning and educating and continuing to read books. So I have gotten back into listening to my audiobooks, focusing on maintaining and strengthening those important relationships. So relationships that are important to us, really digging deep and maybe getting to the roots of how to really strive to make that relationship a connection. And then recognizing those different aspects of grief. And just being able to sit with those and say, okay, I recognize that I'm having this ambiguous loss and I'm having these feelings of grief. And now where can I kind of grow from that? And with that comes, like I said, that both and thinking. So maybe some examples would be, again, from the article, this is terrible and many people are dying. And this is also a time for our families to come together. Also saying, I'm highly competent right now, and I'm also flowing with the tide day to day. I think that's the one that sticks out to me the most, because I do feel like, I've spilt my coffee more often. I've lost my lunch or left it at home. I've just done some silly things. So just reminding myself that it's not really silly. It's just that I'm highly confident, but I'm also riding the flow of the day to day. And that can be really tough. So I have to expect less of myself because we're, again, in the middle of an unprecedented disaster. So when you can't change the situation, again, all we can do is hopefully change that perception and really just try and ride the wave of the day. And some other things that we can do to continue to cope is really build that resilience bank. So understanding for you what is helpful. So is it making sure that you're getting 8 hours of sleep? Is it making sure that your nutrition is on point or that you're trying new meals? Or maybe that you're having somebody do your grocery shopping for you because that feels really anxiety ridden. Maybe it's exercise. Maybe it's getting out there. Maybe it's a meditation. Maybe it's just having self-compassion for yourself. So practicing just looking in a mirror for 2 to 3 minutes a day and having a nice mantra for yourself. Maybe it's that I'm competent and I'm riding the waves day to day. Having gratitude. So during this time, really thinking about what we are thankful for, even if it's just the small things, like I am thankful that I am able to have an umbrella during the rainy weather. Maybe it's having that connection. So calling somebody on the phone and saying, I'm just thinking about you. And my favorite one that is I have had to learn so much is learning how to say no. So maybe practicing that if you are saying yes to everybody, taking the time for yourself and saying, I just really have to say no right now and I just have to stay home. Maybe it's lessening that exposure to media coverage. Maybe it's just having extra time for yourself during the day. So I just really appreciate you guys being here with me today. I hope this was really helpful. If you have any questions, make sure you post them below, and we will see you next time. Bye.